What's up, gear guys and gals? Jimmy P here again. Getting a good response on the videos that I've been making, so thank you. I appreciate it. Again, just like and share. This is actually going to be a full-on review video of this Jackson JS32T Warrior. Again, I did an unboxing on this. The link will be in the description down below. But again, yeah, I just wanted to do a full-on review on it because, again, as I mentioned before, there's not too many reviews on this specific guitar. There's some videos, but it's not in full detail. So that's what I'm going to do with this one. I'm going to give you a full detail of like what it is, the wood, the kind of a little bit of a history background of Jackson itself, and yeah, just basically talk about it, and we'll go through the whole thing of like the hardware, the electronics, all that happy stuff, and do a quick run through of it. So anyway, here we go. So yeah, about this Jackson. So basically, again, I just wanted to, out of all the guitars that I have, they have a classic look to them. They're more like a vintage style or kind of hot rodded sense of guitars that I own, such as Fenders, Epiphones, Les Pauls, you know, Explorers, Strats, Tellys. I do have a street treat coming your way. Eventually, that is an Epiphone. I've had it for about maybe 8 years, more than that. I can't think right now. Anyway, so we're gonna get into that later. But on this one video, we're gonna talk about the Jackson Warrior. The Jackson company itself was started in the 80s, and of course, it has more of the sharp edges that I really didn't think I would be into, but now I am. It just happened. Just the way it looks is all 80s and, you know, aggressive, sharp edges, like you could cut yourself on it, like type of body style. And again, I just didn't think that I would get into it, in a sense where I'm starting to collect more guitars as I go through this process called life. Anyway, so what we're going to talk about first and foremost, the Jackson Warrior was one of the models from the early years of the 80s, such as the Soloist, the King V, the Dinky, the Kelly as well. Basically, those kind of guitar designs were influenced more in the 80s aspect of guitar virtuoso Randy Rhoads. He went to the Jackson company for making his own custom Flying V. I think it was an innovative revamp of the traditional Flying V style, and it was called the Concord, which is pretty interesting. So it was like a little weird, like it had like a V body, but it was like more of like a distorted V body. Like it was like more of like a check mark kind of, in a sense. Like, but yeah, it was like introduction to when Randy Rhoads first came out, when he played with Ozzy Osbourne, and that's how Jackson sort of got like popularized, because they're like, wow, what kind of guitar was that? But then later on, like they made all American-made stuff. You know, it was a U.S. company, independent company. I think they merged with Charvel. I'm not quite sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know. So they brought entry levels into the Jackson World universe of guitars, specifically the expensive ones and the inexpensive ones, which were Asian made. That way it would be great for entry level buyers. So anyway, and this is what this one is. So there's nothing really special about it. There's no like very intricate American type thing about this. This was made in China. It is what it is. But for the price point, the playability, I had to set up a little bit out of the box. So like the unboxing video showed me playing a tiny bit of it, but again, it wasn't to my liking. I put new strings on it, adjusted the height of the strings now, so they play a little bit better. I do have to say this, moving on, Jackson has been on their own from like the 80s up to the 90s, and then recently in 2002, Fender actually bought them out. So now Fender owns and is the mother company of Jackson now. Licensing and everything like that is all through Fender, and of course Jackson still has its name, but now they are bought through another family member, which is Fender itself. So now we can get to the guitar itself after all that. Let's talk about the neck. The first foremost thing that is very crucial into playing guitar is the neck. Now, this is a Chinese-made guitar, and I am not knocking Chinese-made guitars whatsoever, but with that being said, I am super impressed for how this neck is and how straight it is. I actually have a StewMac straight edge. It helps me measure the bow, the under bow, and the back bow of the neck to make sure that it's straight, and also it has these little slots in here that I don't have to really take the strings off, but in the same sense, It will also help me measure the flatness of the wood part of the neck, and then that way this side also, the straight edge, will determine to see if that the frets need some work or whatever. So this is a good tool to have, so that way you're not like making all these weird adjustments without looking through the neck in certain angles that I do sometimes too. But anyway, but the neck on this is super straight. Like, I was really impressed by this. The only downside that I've seen on this neck, the frets are phenomenal. There's no protruding fret sprout at all. There is binding on this. They're super shiny, super smooth. The only thing is though, like I said, in the shark fin inlays, there is some, it looks like some glue marks, probably from them putting the inlays in. And that is basically the only thing that I have to gripe about. I mean, I'm just nitpicking. I mean, there's some certain areas on the fretboard that are, you know, it could be better quality. Even at the end part of where the one pickup and the trim on this is as well, the binding on the trim. The binding here is like a little blotchy, like it's not smoothed out, like, but I'm just nitpicking, so I'm not really gonna be accessing that, really. It's just on looks and aesthetics. The neck is what is really important, because that's where you're gonna be at playing the guitar anyway. Yeah, I cannot believe of how this neck is. Like, I'm very impressed by it. It's just really cool, the fact that they kept it like straight. I don't know, it's just something that is a characteristic of this guitar right now. For me, it's just that the neck is super straight, which is awesome. I mean, you can't deny that. So, so the hardware, the Tune-O-Matic bridge part here, I was actually okay with, because all I had to do was just to adjust the string height to the fretboard. I just, you know, just loosen it down to that way it just came down a little bit more, because when it came out of the box, it was a little high. I didn't really have to do anything too much to it. The intonation's perfect. I made sure that is also in tune, because, you know, you always got to be in tune, I'm telling you. The intonation is basically the nut to the bridge here, the bridge saddles, and that determines the length of the string to make sure that it's in key to the open string that is being plucked to the fretted 12th position, and that is supposed to be in an octave higher. So if that's in key when you do that, that's perfect intonation, and that's exactly what you want, because nobody likes to be out of tune. When you go see a band, it's like they play your favorite song and then all of a sudden the guitar player, the bass player is out of tune. Then it just completely ruins your night, because it's like, why couldn't they do it right? Because, oh, that's why, because they can play every single lick perfect, but if the guitar's not in key, then you just failed. So again, the tuners themselves, I really am impressed by them. They felt solid. They didn't feel like it was skipping, anything like that. Like when you wind up the strings on the guitar, it's just more, they feel stable. They don't feel too cheap. They actually hold body, you know. It's just, they're really cool. Of course, they're labeled the Jackson name on it. So I mean, again, not griping these at all. I don't know if I will upgrade the tuners, but right now I think they are solid for me. And I like the self-cutting ones that I put on my guitars. Like, they're the ones that are, you know, as soon as you wind it up, they cut themselves, so that way you're not sitting there with pliers or cutters and then clipping out the access. So that's a real cool thing about the ones that I have had. But these, they're pretty solid. I mean, I'm not going to complain about those at all. So far, the guitar has been holding up in tune after I've been playing it for a while. So yeah, the bridge and the hardware, the nut's pretty good. I think it's a graphite nut. I just made sure that I put a little bit of a lead pencil in the slots of the strings, because that also helps less friction. That way it's easier to glide when you adjust the tuning, because that way nothing's getting snagged in there. It helps protect the nut from the friction of the string, because it grinds away the string, but it also gives it some smoothness when you do tune. So that's all. I always do that with my guitars. That's another quick little secret that I like to do with the guitars. They have other products out there. They're called nut juice, so that lubricates the strings for the nut. But again, just lead pencil or regular number 2 pencil, like school pencils, will help. Just all you gotta do is just fill it in there, just color it in, and that's gonna give it some more slippiness for stable tuning. Honestly, it really helps. I do it all the time. Again, string through hardtail through the body. I really like that with the string furls. That means I'm getting stable tuning all the time. Nothing's gonna go out of whack. Everything seems like it's pretty solid. Really, the hardware is not that bad at all for this at all. So, plus the electronics now. The electronics, I don't mind these pickups right now. I played through my amp and I really dig them right now. I don't think I'm gonna change them out right now, but we'll see what happens. But right now, I think the only thing I would do is probably change out of this, the pocket here, change the electronics in that, because the volume pots, you can tell, are pretty much on the cheap side. They make actual legit ones they always put in Fenders, Gibsons, the CTS pots. I'll probably put like a 500K volume and tone pot in here. That way you don't really have to upgrade your pickups. If you just do a minor thing like that, you'll get a lot more dynamic out of the pickups themselves that are already in it than you would out of spending $200 for a set of getting new pickups from a higher end company and putting them in. Like, you'll probably save a couple bucks, because I think the CTS pots maybe cost like $5 or more maybe for each pot. For 10 bucks maybe or more for changing the pots out, you'll get a lot more dynamic out of your pickups. I think that's a good way to go. So I'm not griping on the way these are now, but if I really wanted to get more dynamic out of these pickups, I would go with the CTS pots. Overall, the Warrior is a cool guitar, and again, it reminds me more of my Explorer that I own. Just the way it sits in my lap, it's really comfortable. I think it would be awkward, but it's really not. It's actually a comfortable position. But anyway, with that being said, let's do a quick run through. Yeah, I mean, it's not really bad at all as far as how these pickups sound. I think I really dig them a lot. I mean, yeah, it's just a bridge, but I mean, here's the neck real quick. So yeah, so how about that? This little puppy, I would say, is a pretty cool guitar for the price. Again, it was $250. I got off a Reverb. I'm kind of impressed by this, honestly. Like, the only thing I might do upgrade-wise is probably definitely get a new strap. I like those DiMarzio straps I always get with the lock. They lock right in. But other than that, I think the only thing I would probably change is probably the pots. Change those pots out, maybe upgrade the tuners, but right now I think I'm digging those tuners because they feel solid. Again, I did a playthrough and I tuned it like a little bit ago, and they're holding up. So I mean, I'm quite impressed by this guitar right now. Anyway, I hope you liked the video. Keep playing, keep being inspired, keep practicing. Hopefully one day you will be a big rock star. No, seriously though, keep playing, keep being inspired, keep practicing. It's one thing I always try to do every time I try to pick up a guitar. It's a cool thing to do in this time that we have, especially in this whole quarantine thing. So I just hope everyone's being safe, taking the precautions, just washing your hands. But yeah, stay safe. We'll see you in the next video, and take care.